We have finally arrived. It is the 75th anniversary of Eaton Park, your Pratt Pack here in Monaca. Anticipating this, and I have been here hundreds of times. And yeah, they're known for these delicious pies, every flavor to savor. But really, it always comes down to the place for smiles, Eaton Park. Dozens upon dozens of cookies I have purchased and have been at this location with my children. But come here, I want to show you some other things. Obviously, celebrating a big anniversary. And we're going to be doing something here tonight that I'm really excited about. Lynn McMahon, who penned this book, and really a very minimal price, $19.95. The story behind the smile. You know, June of 1949 is when it began, and there's a great connection to some names that we really know and love, like Isley's. Wait till you hear the story of how it began, and two gentlemen were simply supervisors for Isley's, making their way to Cincinnati, and notice that big boy logo, that restaurant. All I can tell you is this: it is a match made in heaven, and it is continuing to make smiles happen every day, 75 years later. And you know, the great thing about Eaton Park, Mr. Broadhurst and company on down, they're always paying it forward in each and every community. They do so much for us right here in Beaver County, and I'm sure all of you can agree wherever you enjoy Eaton Park. So get ready. We've got a table ready, and we're going to be talking to Lynn McMahon about this incredible book, and it's really a piece of history, definitely worth getting. The story behind the smile. Pick it up at all Eaton Park locations as we continue to celebrate their 75th anniversary. And every time I'm here, I've got to grab a case of these K-Cups. It's the best coffee in town. So let's get going, a little coffee clutch, and relive some great history with Lynn McMahon. Now, moments away, so follow me. Our table is ready at the Eaton Park here in Monaca. So if you're wondering what's good on the menu, it's all good in the neighborhood. Yeah, we're here in Monaca. And as I mentioned just moments ago, I can't count how many times I have been here, but I have been to their locations throughout Ohio, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, more times than we have time to discuss tonight, because I want to get to the business at hand. I showed you this already more times than just tonight, but this is the actual book. I have the person who penned it, put it together, and it's available, as I mentioned, at all of your Eaton Park locations. Lynn McMahon. I am so excited, and I know Mr. Broadhurst recently was on the Big K Morning Show with Larry Richard, because this is a story. It's a part of our fabric. It's a part of all of us. So without further ado, the star of the show here tonight at Eaton Park in Monaca, along with the fried zucchini, I might add, is Lynn McMahon. Lynn, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Rob?
Listen, so it's 1949. June is when they actually get up and running. But before that, you have Larry Hatch and Bill Peters. They're just cruising to Cincinnati, and they're supervisors working for Isley's. And because I spent some time doing play-by-play in Ohio, I'm very familiar with the big boy name. Well, you never know until you reach out and make a call, and they did to the owner of Big Boy. 25-year agreement. Licensing things happened, the Super Burger happened, the connection to Mr. Del Gotti and the Big Mac. It just is such a great story that really has us here tonight talking about the legend of the Smiley Cookie, their logo, their mantra, that Eaton Park Christmas tree commercial. There's so much to discuss, so it's all yours. I'm here to learn and enjoy. Go ahead.
Well, you know, it's, as you said, a 75-year-old company that is based in innovation. So, 1949, Larry Hatch had the foresight to see automobiles were becoming a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So he had this idea for car hops, right? Pretty insightful. Flash forward in terms of innovation, and they introduced the concept of family dining.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't a thing. The company worked with Ray Rogers and Family Communications and designed menus and activities and philosophies geared toward making restaurants family-friendly restaurants. Innovation continued. They eliminated smoking in restaurants far before it was required. That was a business risk. They knew that they were going to lose business as a result of doing that, but they also knew it was the right thing. They introduced pickup windows.
Right.
In this style of restaurant, unheard of.
Didn't exist.
Right. So those innovations have been a hallmark of Eaton Park, and they continue. They continue.
Let me give you a little bit of a sidebar, and sometimes things just fall into place. And you may or may not be aware of this. Today is the anniversary of D-Day, June 6th. And what happened, the greatest generation after the war, when they came back, many of them went to work in the steel mills, that they needed something to do to get their mind back on track and get back into the game of life. So they were taking all those 39 Packers and they were souping them up. And thus the hot rod generation became a big part of our society, and car cruising. And cruising into an Eaton Park with their significant other, their high school sweetheart, who became their wife. The children then followed, so it became a family affair. So just 5 years after D-Day, in June of 1949, all of the Eaton Park phenomenon started. So the stars were aligned, and this was a great place for people who fought in that war, the greatest generation, to come back and to fit in again and to spend time with their family. So it really was a very special place, and it just happened at the right time.
And it continues to be a special place. It is such a part of the fabric of our lives, from being the place where we gather to blow out candles on birthday cakes, to being here after church services, or being here for business meetings. It is just a part of our lives.
Why do you think this smiley persona has just taken off? I mean, and honestly, every time I see anything with Eaton Park, I smile. It's just, there's something about it that's just contagious.
Well, I really think it's the authenticity. And it starts with the Broadhurst camp.
Yep.
So Susan and Jim purchased Eaton Park from Larry Hatch in 1984, and their philosophy was and still is so based in doing what is right for guests and what is right for team members, what is right for the community. So it's such an authentic state of wanting to create a smile that it happens almost naturally. And it is so much a part of their culture, Rob, that it truly is infused. And the team members carry on that same spirit of wanting to create a smile.
So we're going to talk much more about this. Please show this off to Mr. Pratt, and I will, because that's why we're here. The story behind the smile, Lynn McMahon, I just can't praise this enough. It's something that young and old alike, and even if they're new to Eaton Park, it's a great history lesson and something that they're going to be able to say, hey, I was a part of that years and years to come, and for a generation to come. The story behind the smile, Lynn McMahon. Let me tell you about my personal relationship. So, when I was growing up, we always had dinner at 4:30. Okay? My father never talked. He would just sit there. So years later, after his passing, I said to my mom, I said, why was it that he never said anything at the dining room table or the dinner table, whether it was Sunday dinner at my grandmother's or Monday through Saturday at our home in New Brighton? Because he was listening. And it gave him an opportunity to hear my sisters and I talk amongst each other about just life and who we are and what we were doing at that particular time in our life. And if he had to interject, he'd kind of give my mother a nudge and he'd get involved. So what I did with my children, because I was so busy, and Lynn, you can ask anybody in Beaver County, for years I was here 2 to 3 nights a week to give their mother a break who was working extremely hard. And I got my children to get a booth and we would come here, and they loved Eaton Park. And I would just listen to them. And it gave me a chance to stay in touch with what was happening in their life, and it replaced that family dining experience that I had as a kid. And they fell in love with it so much so, whether it was a drive-through breakfast in the morning or just a smiley face cookie to get them through that day that they had a big test in school, it has always been such a gathering place for me, in business, in like first dates. So family get-togethers, meaning sisters and cousins. It really feels like it's my home. And no matter where I am, and I have traveled for years, especially during my years doing play-by-play sports in West Virginia and Ohio and here, whenever I just needed to feel home, I would just go to Eaton Park and get a cup of coffee and sit down, and it always made me feel welcome. So even though it's a corporate entity, it employs so many people and has been responsible for so much good, it really is kind of like an extension of our home dining experience, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And a unique thing about Eaton Park is, I think as consumers, we're possessive. You refer to Monaco as your Eaton Park.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
I refer to Robinson as my Eaton Park.
Right.
I don't know of other restaurants that people have that kind of affinity and feeling of family as it is with Eaton Park.
So the Broadhursts are celebrating their 40th anniversary. 1984, 2024. That's an incredible track record. So before we kind of go through history a little bit, what made you decide to do this? Because it's such a crown jewel, and we're so happy that you did it. But the story behind the smile, available at all Eaton Park locations. Go ahead.
It was Jim Broadhurst's idea, and I've known Jim a long time. He had approached me a number of years ago and said he was thinking it might be a good idea, it might be time, and honestly, Rob, I wasn't sure if he was saying, just so you know, Lynn, there might be the right time for, or if he was saying, I want you to be part of this, I want you to write the book. A couple years later, flash forward, he said it's time, and I do want you to write the book.
Can you show just a couple of pictures? I know you bookmarked a couple of pages, and then I'll show. These are going home with me. So let's just put this up. The best anywhere. See, that's the great thing about Eaton Park. Everybody thinks hamburgers and fries, and for my children and those children growing up, chicken tenders, they got the salad bar, the daily soups, that smiley breakfast, all the things you could ever imagine. Everything right here at Eaton Park and all of the locations throughout the tri-state. But I do want to show a few pictures. But again, this book is available $19.95 at all locations, and it's a great gift too for people living out of the tri-state who have memories as well. What do you got there?
Sure. I also want to mention, Rob, it's also available at smileycookie.com.
Gotcha. Go ahead, get in tight on that, Sue. So these are some, I guess, original car hops.
Car hops, right.
Imagine how busy these places used to get back when, I mean, that was such it became a huge novelty to be able to take your car, drive in, and have somebody come out to take your order and eat in your car. I call it dashboard dining, but no one did it better.
Come as you are, eat in your car.
Listen, when you think about the legacy and how they have become a whole lot larger than this right here now, all these years later, it is a great story of business too, entrepreneurial spirit. I mean, forget about all the goodwill and the smiley face cookies. I'm into business and things that work. And let's face it, we in these parts know a little bit about business and entrepreneurial spirit. I mean, it really is a story that is almost hard to believe when you think of over 50 locations throughout the tri-state, how they really do so many charitable events in the community. All the people that have had jobs and have worked for this company have been able to take care of their families, or that first job as a waiter or waitress. I mean, it just goes on and on and on, right?
It does, and of course people know Eaton Park restaurants. There is a restaurant division that includes the Porch at Chenley, the Porch at Siena. It includes Hello Bistros. There are Hello Bistros in Western Pennsylvania and Ohio. It includes smileycookie.com. But interestingly, Rob, Jim Broadhurst and his leadership team decided that they needed to think about diversification for the future. And this was in the early 90s, and they considered various options, but they knew that they wanted to stay true to the brand. They knew that they didn't want to create something that would compete with Eaton Park restaurants. They knew they wanted to do something that would give their team members opportunities. And they knew that they wanted to do something that would extend the quality and commitment that the family and the company had roots in with Eaton Park. And that's what gave birth to Parkhurst Dining. Now, not everyone is aware of Parkhurst Dining.
Tell them about it.
So Parkhurst is the contract dining division of Eaton Park Hospitality Group. So as the company expanded from Eaton Park restaurants to these other restaurants and Parkhurst, that gave birth to Eaton Park Hospitality Group, the parent company. Parkhurst Dining is currently in 14 states.
That's phenomenal.
From Mid-America for New England, employs thousands of team members. Because the family and the company is so focused on values, they were able to put the pillars in place to do this extension and create a whole new company.
I just got a Lynn McMahon, the story behind the smile, available in all locations, and also smileycookie.com.
Smileycookie.com.
All right, so I love talking business. So many years ago on the radio, I had got called back into work after I had just worked a very long day. And I'm driving into work literally in my pajamas to go back on at midnight. And I'm like, what am I going to talk about? So I look up, I'm in a red light, and there's an Isley's billboard. I remember Isley's. So 5 after 12, the news is done. And I said, does anybody remember Isley's? Same effect with Eden Park. I could do it tonight, same effect. Phones lit up all night. So Jay Diley at the time and his son Tim owned the rights to that name. And obviously Coons marketed the NTC family that I've been connected to forever. So people wanted to open franchises again. They're calling me, they're calling the offices. So Jay and I have a little bit of a sit down and he said, Rob, here's the deal. Consistency. The skyscraper cones, to make it the same in Ambridge as you would want to make it in Bridgeville, it's a little difficult today. So explain this to me, and I say this from the bottom of my heart because I'm a stickler for details. I could be in West Virginia, I could be in Ohio, I could go to Chippewa here in Beaver County, Robinson, or come here to Monaca, and consistency. Every cup of soup, every leaf of lettuce in the salad bar, every burger, chicken tenders, fried zucchini. The consistency is second to none, and I gotta believe that that's one of the recipes for success and why you're writing about this 75th anniversary. They are incredible with consistency, right?
They are, and they're passionate about food. That's one of their values, and that means that they have a team that works on developing new recipes. Once they have those recipes, they train preparation, they train presentation, they train how servers interact with guests about menu items. So consistency really is essential and is there across 50-some restaurants.
So people believe that the holiday season starts with a Macy's Day Parade. Yeah, maybe. But to me, this is where it begins. Show them, Sue, getting close on that. The classic thank you. I mean, come on. This still brings a tear to the eye, and I don't care who you are, if you're watching this on this great tool that is social media, my YouTube channel or Facebook, you know exactly what I'm talking about when I show you this. Tell me about the whole story behind this Christmas tree, because it's a story that's going to be around a lot longer than me, and I surely hope my great-grandchildren are going to be watching that during the holiday season.
So, as you know, Eden Park has a long history of community support, from Children's Hospital in Pittsburgh to other children's hospitals and markets where they have a presence. United Way, food banks in every market where they have a presence. Jim wanted to say thank you to the community for the support of that community show following one of the Free Care Fund campaigns. So at the time, Ketchum was the advertising agency working with Eden Park. And Jim went to Ketchum and said, I would like some kind of message that where I can express my appreciation to the community for their support of our campaign and our work. And there was a young designer, a young copywriter. Ketchum assigned it to junior level people because it was just a thank you.
Right.
And young copywriter, young designer working on a weekend.
Knocks it through the uprights.
Working independently, but they both had the same concept of star needing to get to the top of a Christmas tree. And I think for so many of us, that's the indication of the start of the holiday season.
It is. But you mentioned, Children's Hospital. I go back many years in the windows, the Kaufmans and Horns and Gimbles, and we had our Farkleberry cookie and the great stories. I don't know many companies, and I'm not just saying it because I'm a fan. I've been around a lot of corporate people, but they understand who they are and where they're from. And one thing about this great company, they're always willing to pay it forward. Let me give you a little personal side note, speaking of Christmas. So years ago, I got involved with this toy train company, MTH, and we started doing regional parks, you know, Iron City, Ice Race, all these different things. And to this day, and I mean this, not just because I'm here, the most popular of all, to this day, if I told people I had 500 of them stashed away, they would be hunting me down for days. The Eaton Park Smiling Face Cookie Boxcar, the toy train under the tree that everyone knows, is still one of the most famous. And Mr. Broadhurst did that for me, and I have never forgot that generosity. So much so, and I want him to know this, that train layout that was massive, it took years to build, as we finally have downsized and it has been sold off. And all of the trains that are significant have been passed on to my son Robbie. And the very first thing he said that he got of all the trains, and I had him as far as the eye could see, was the Smiley Face Cookie Park. He is going to be sharing that, I'm sure, someday with his own children and grandchildren. That's the kind of legacy Eaton Park has. And every time I come here, I think of all of the connections. And this is the icing on the cake, or should I say the cherry on the Eaton Park pie. You have to be so proud of yourself. I mean, this just has to make you so happy that you've got that little name, Lynn McMahon, underneath this great, and who came up with the title, The Story Behind the Smile? I mean, that's what I call a movie waiting to happen.
Robert, I am just so honored that the family entrusted me with telling this story.
Well, what's your connection? Because obviously you know the story. How did it all start for you? What's Lynn McMahon's story?
It goes back a bit.
Go ahead, I got time.
In the 80s, I was the head of public relations for Children's Hospital.
Well, then we probably... Yeah.
And Jim was on the board. And when Jim became chair of the board, I would do some writing for him. I would, at children's events, if he was going to speak, I would write his remarks for him. And he kind of liked the style of writing. And that grew into doing some special projects for him while I was still at Children's. I was doing some writing for him. When I left Children's, I with my colleague from Children's, Sue Cardillo, we started our own agency, and Eaton Park became a client. And so now, flash forward, however many years, and Eaton Park remains a client, and really, it's been such a privilege to interact with this family. This Brothers family is just so special, and to have the opportunity to tell this story about an institution that is so important and such a part of Pittsburgh.
One of the things that I love about coming here, and they'll tell you, sometimes back in the day, my TV crew, I would spend a few dollars, as they say, but I always knew one thing. It was always going back into the community. Because the people who work at Eaton Park are my neighbors. And this is one of the very few things that corporate juggernaut, meaning that conglomerate from some other part of the country, hasn't swooped in. This is still family. It's still Broadhurst, that family, our family, my family, your family. And to me, that just is, I don't know, so special that it makes me want to continue to come to Eaton Park, not just because of the great food, because of the business plan too. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. That's the key to their success and longevity. That's but they don't stop. They keep looking forward. They keep innovating, and I know that not everything they try is going to be a success. Right?
Yeah.
But they still believe in trying. They still want to innovate.
Well, I know this. I go back to the time when my children's feet were dangling from these booths, and they were laughing and giggling, and I just felt so lucky to be with them. And even though they're all grown now and they're on their own, anytime I say, you want to go get dinner, and I leave it up to them, and they always say Eaton Park, and it still makes me smile.
So what's your favorite menu item?
Salad bar and soup. I know.
Number one seller.
And listen, there's so many good things here, and I have been known to fluctuate, as they say, weight-wise, but I'm probably in the best shape I've been in a long time. And I credit that salad bar and the 7 soups. Listen, you get a quart of soup at the drive-through window. It's gold. You get that home in your house, the smell, it just belongs there. It just reminds me of my grandmother and my mother and all the family get-togethers. And I'm just going to tell you, Lynn, and believe me, no one's being paid for this, okay? I don't know where I'd be without Eaton Park. Eaton Park is everything to me. And I just can't thank you enough, and Mr. Broadhurst and everyone, for giving me this opportunity. So what about you? You've sampled a few things. What do you like?
Well, there's a lot I like.
Well, go ahead, tell me.
There are some seafood items that I'm very fond of.
Whale or cod dinner,
There we go.
whale and mac, breaded shrimp, Nantucket cod, and baked cod.
And there are the classics, right? There's strawberry pie. There's ranch dressing. There's potato soup.
Ham steak, country fried steak, and they even have spaghetti too here. I mean, come on, that's near and dear to my heart. But soup of the day, Sundays they've got potato, Monday stuffed pepper, oh, so good. Cream of broccoli, you gotta have that. More potato on Wednesday, wedding soup on Thursday, clam chowder and potato soup. All the sides and the wraps and just the breakfast. I mean, where else would you want to go but here? But listen, it's all about the people that make up the smile, and it is Eaton Park. So 75th anniversary. I mean, just think where we are today and how much this is a part of our landscape. You know, I could get a call from anywhere in the country on my radio station, and I would say Eaton Park. Oh, I miss Eaton Park. I used to love going to Eaton Park. And you never feel far away from home. And many times when I was working late into the night, early morning hours, and I was exhausted, and I'm thinking, how am I going to get through this day? And I do it to this day because I have this one right here. I live just about a mile from here. I pass this early in the morning on the weekends, on my way home late at night during the week. And as soon as I see that Eaton Park sign, I know I'm home. So Lynn, thank you very much. Again, tell them about the book, how they can get it, where they can get it. And it's a must because it is the true story behind the smile. Lynn McMahon, go ahead.
So the book is available at all Eaton Park restaurant locations as well as smileykookie.com. Little secret, that's where folks can get the best pricing. The book is available through brick and mortar stores, through online stores, but the best pricing, especially for the 75th anniversary year, is to purchase through the restaurants or through smileykookie.com.
Wow, this is a good sign right here. Here it is, the one in Robinson, but it's always a good sign. So Eaton Park, you know what somebody said to me today? Ask them why they don't call it Park and Eat. I said, hey, I think Eaton Park works. Rob Pratt, Lynn McMahon, thanks to Sue, her friend, did an incredible job filming this. And listen, keep it coming. 75 years from now, I'll be watching from somewhere. You better be at Eaton Park because it'll be, as it is now, the place for smiles. Good night. It's your Pratt Pack. Thank you so much.